You know, there comes a time in every parent's life when things start to shift. After decades of raising your kids, guiding them through life's challenges, making countless sacrifices for their happiness, something changes. It happens so gradually you barely notice at first. Then one day it hits you. Your son brushes off your advice with a dismissive wave. Your daughter rolls her eyes when you share an opinion. They speak to you like you're somehow less than you once were. Or worst of all, you catch that look in their eyes that makes you feel like you've become nothing but a burden to them. And I've got to tell you, it cuts deep. Deeper than almost anything else could. Listen, if your children have started treating you with less respect than you deserve, I know exactly what you're feeling right now. That frustration, that anger building inside. There's this overwhelming urge to just remind them of everything. All those years you put them first. All those sacrifices no one ever saw. But here's the hard truth I've learned. Getting angry, it doesn't fix anything. Actually, it usually makes everything worse. I want to share something better with you today. There's a different approach, a way to regain their respect without the fighting, without those heated arguments, without that bitter resentment that keeps everyone up at night. I've discovered 6 specific things you can do when your children don't show you respect. These aren't complicated strategies, just simple shifts in how you respond that can completely transform how they see you. Some of these might catch you off guard. They're not what most people expect. But if you stick with me until the end, I promise you'll discover how to reclaim your place as someone they truly respect and value in their lives. Someone whose wisdom they seek rather than dismiss. Action 1. Stop chasing their approval. You know, one of the biggest mistakes we parents make, especially as we get older, is trying way too hard to please our kids. Maybe you've caught yourself doing this lately, going out of your way to accommodate them, saying yes when everything inside you wants to say no, putting their needs ahead of your own, thinking, if I just do enough, they'll finally appreciate me. But here's the painful truth I had to learn myself. The more desperately you chase their approval, the less they actually respect you. Respect isn't something you earn through constant self-sacrifice. It comes from having self-respect first. When you're always bending over backward, always giving in, always trying to keep everyone happy, what you're really teaching them is that your feelings come second. And once they start believing that, it becomes so easy for them to take you for granted. I remember Elizabeth, this amazingly strong, independent woman in her younger years. But as she got older, she started letting her children make all her decisions. She'd rearrange her entire schedule around their needs, bite her tongue instead of sharing her opinions, and even ignore the way they talked down to her. I just want to keep the family together, she confided in me once. But you know what happened? Her children completely stopped valuing her. They saw her as someone who would always adjust, always agree, always stay silent. She thought she was keeping the peace, but what she was really doing was losing her own voice. If your children don't respect you right now, the first step isn't to demand it. It's to stop acting like you desperately need it. Set those boundaries. Say no when you need to. Speak your mind, even when they don't like what you have to say. Because the moment you start truly respecting yourself again, they'll start seeing you differently. And with time, I promise, that respect will find its way back to you. Action 2. Don't argue, lead by example. Look, when your children dismiss what you have to say, talk right over you, or treat you with that kind of disrespect that makes your blood boil, your gut reaction is probably to argue back, to remind them of everything you've sacrificed, to demand they show some respect and actually listen for once. But I need to tell you something that took me years to figure out. Arguing never, ever works. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you actually convinced someone to respect you by fighting for it? Has that ever worked? Respect isn't something you win through heated words. It's something you earn through presence, through the quiet dignity in how you carry yourself, through the way you respond when someone's deliberately testing your patience. When you meet their disrespect with anger, all you're really doing is confirming what they already believe, that they have power over you, that they can get under your skin. I remember Frank, a retired teacher who'd spent his entire career commanding respect in the classroom. But at home, His grown children had started treating him like he was invisible. They'd ignore his advice, wave away his concerns, and sometimes even laugh right in front of him when he tried to correct them. At first, he fought back hard, trying desperately to prove he still deserved their respect. But the more he fought, the worse things got between them. Then something changed. One day, Frank tried a different approach. Instead of arguing, he started listening, really listening. He stopped chasing respect with his words and instead just carried himself like a man who already had it. He spoke calmly, with wisdom, without that desperate need to win every conversation. And slowly, his children started noticing the difference. They saw a man who wasn't begging for their approval, who didn't need to prove himself to them, who simply was a figure of quiet strength. If your children don't respect you right now, don't fight them for it. Show them what respect actually looks like by the way you treat yourself first. Keep your dignity intact. Speak with confidence, not desperation. And whatever you do, never lower yourself to their level. Because when you hold your ground with grace, they will feel that change. And in time, they'll follow your example. Hey, if you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, do me a quick favor. Just comment number 1 below to let me know you're still with me. And listen, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I really recommend you do it now and turn on that bell notification so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Your support honestly means everything. It's what helps us continue creating content that actually makes a difference in your life. All right, let's get back to it. Action 3, withdraw your emotional dependence. You know, one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn as I've gotten older is that you just can't depend on your children for your emotional fulfillment. Sure, you love them with everything you have, and of course, you want them to love and respect you back. But here's the thing. The moment they sense that you need them to feel valued, something shifts in that relationship. The power balance completely changes. Here's the uncomfortable reality I've seen play out time and time again. People, even your own flesh and blood, respect those who don't emotionally need them. When you're constantly relying on them for validation, for affection, for attention, it puts this invisible pressure on them. And instead of feeling grateful, they start feeling burdened. I remember Helena, such a kind-hearted mother who had literally given everything to raise her children. As they grew up and got busy with their own complicated lives, she found herself sitting by that phone, just hoping they'd call. When they didn't, she'd call them instead. Often, too often if I'm being honest. She'd remind them how much she missed them, how she wished they would visit more. But instead of bringing them closer, it pushed them further away. They started seeing her calls as this obligation rather than something they actually looked forward to. Then Helena did something that changed everything. She just stopped waiting, stopped calling first. Instead, she started focusing on herself, picking up new hobbies, reconnecting with old friends, taking responsibility for her own happiness. And something remarkable happened. Her children started calling more. They began respecting her time, seeing her as someone with a full, rich life of her own. The lesson here is simpler than we want to admit. The less you depend on your children to make you feel needed, the more they naturally start valuing your presence. When you show them you can stand strong on your own 2 feet, they start respecting you, not because they have to, but because they genuinely admire the life you've created for yourself. Action 4, set boundaries and enforce them. Let me tell you something that took me years to understand. One of the biggest reasons our children stop respecting us is because we let them. It's that simple. If you're allowing your kids to talk down to you, dismiss what you have to say, or treat you like your time and feelings don't really matter, they're going to keep doing it. Not because they're bad people, but because people, especially family, will always treat you exactly how you teach them they can. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to cut off your children or start some big family war. It just means calmly and firmly deciding what kind of behavior you will and will not accept in your life. And more importantly, this is the part most people miss. It means actually enforcing those boundaries when someone crosses them. I think about Robert, this retired businessman who'd spent his entire career running a company with real discipline and confidence. But when it came to his adult children, he completely lost his footing. They'd interrupt him mid-sentence, brush off his concerns like they were nothing, and sometimes even criticize how he was living his life. At first, he just tolerated it, told himself it wasn't worth creating tension over. But as time went on, he realized something important. Every single time he stayed silent, he was teaching them their behavior was perfectly acceptable. So one day, Robert finally changed his approach. When his son interrupted him, he calmly looked him in the eye and said, "Sit. Continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion for the 100th time, he simply replied, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect you to respect me." And when they still pushed his limits, he made it crystal clear. If they couldn't treat him with basic respect, he wouldn't be spending his time with them. And you know what happened? They started listening. Sure, at first they pushed back hard, but over time, they realized their father wasn't backing down anymore. They saw that he valued himself enough to demand respect. And because of that shift in him, they started giving it to him. If your children don't respect you right now, it's time to ask yourself this hard question. Are you allowing it? Because if you don't set those boundaries, I promise they won't set them for you. And if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else will. Hey, if you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, do me a quick favor. Just comment number 3 below to let me know you're still with me. And listen, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, I really recommend you do it now and turn on that bell notification so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Your support honestly means everything. It's what helps us continue creating content that actually makes a difference in your life. All right, let's get back to it. Action 5, stop giving without appreciation. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. One of the quickest ways to lose respect from anyone is to keep giving to people who don't appreciate what you're doing. And as parents, we do this more often than we'd like to admit. We give our time, our energy, our support, even when nobody acknowledges it, even when it's completely taken for granted, even when we're met with nothing but that sense of entitlement that just breaks your heart. But here's the hard truth I had to face. When you keep giving to someone who doesn't appreciate it, you don't build love. You don't build respect. What you're actually building is expectation. They stop seeing your kindness as something valuable and start seeing it as something they're simply entitled to. And the moment you stop, they don't suddenly feel grateful. They feel inconvenienced. I remember Geoff, this father who had always been incredibly generous with his children. He helped them financially whenever they needed it, dropped absolutely everything to assist them, and even completely rearranged his life to accommodate their needs. But instead of gratitude, he was met with complaints. They never said thank you. They just expected more. And the part that hurt him the most? When he finally needed their help, they were suddenly too busy. Then one day, Geoff did something brave. He stopped overextending himself. He stopped offering help before they even asked for it. And most importantly, he started saying no when he needed to. At first, his children were frustrated. They couldn't understand why he wasn't bending over backward for them anymore. But over time, something powerful shifted. They started really valuing his time. They began genuinely appreciating his efforts, because suddenly they realized that his generosity wasn't unlimited. It was a gift, not a guarantee. If you feel like your children don't respect your time, your effort, or your kindness anymore, take a step back and ask yourself this. Are you giving more than you should? And if so, what would happen if you stopped? Because when you teach people that your generosity is conditional on respect, believe me, they will start treating it that way. Final thoughts on. You know, respect isn't something you can just demand from your children. It's something you inspire through how you carry yourself, how you set those boundaries, and how you actually live your life. If they've started treating you with less care, less consideration, or less respect, don't waste your energy getting angry. Trust me, I've been there. Instead, shift your approach. Stop chasing their approval, because the less you seem to need it, the more they'll naturally give it to you. Lead by example, because your dignity speaks so much louder than your words ever could. Withdraw your emotional dependence, because the more self-sufficient you are, the more they'll respect your presence in their lives. Set those boundaries, because people will only ever treat you as well as you require them to. Stop giving without appreciation, Because when your generosity is taken for granted, it completely loses its value. And most importantly, build a life outside of them. Because people respect those who have their own purpose, their own joy, their own sense of fulfillment. If you do these things, something incredible will happen. Your children will start seeing you in a completely different light. Not as someone just waiting around for their attention, but as someone who commands respect simply by being who they are. And in time, that respect will come back to you. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd really love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are so important to us, so please don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us such great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Your support truly helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires you. Thanks for watching today, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.